Okay, this is a big day. It's 2nd of April 2018. We're very happy that our bees have arrived today. They're in 2 tubes. We'll see those a little bit later. They're Arataki bees, so they come from Rotorua in New Zealand. They've arrived by plane yesterday evening. Carmelita picked them up today. What we're going to do today is we're going to install them in these 2 hive boxes, brood boxes. We've prepared everything to get the bees inside. So if we look in the box, this is a feeder here, a frame feeder. So we've prepared a sugar syrup solution, 2 parts sugar, 1 part water. This time of the year before we've seen many plants flowering, the bees need something to eat. So they'll have that sugar syrup solution. We've purchased 2 nicely used and populated frames. So you see the beeswax is there already. There's quite a bit of honey on these frames that the bees need to eat. So we see that on both sides, so that will give them an excellent start as the hive gets going. So we have 2 of those. And then in addition, we have quite a number of brand new frames. So eventually they're going to build out honeycomb on all of these, and they will use these to raise new bees, brand new bees, baby bees that'll grow up and then go out eventually and forage and bring back nectar and pollen to the colony as they continue to grow. So this box fits 10 frames. The feeder is going to occupy 1 of those. In a few moments we're going to put the bees inside. We'll put the bees inside with the queen bee, so each box will get about 3,000 bees to get started. Eventually that will grow to about 40,000+ bees out there working, visiting the neighborhood flowers and plants and bringing pollen and nectar back. And then when we're done that, we're going to provide them something additional. We're going to put on these 2 frames that we purchased, we're going to put this solution onto each. This provides them also something to eat and something to treat the risk of a disease called nosema. So we'll put that on each of those frames we acquired. And then on top, we're going to put something else for them to eat. So these are pollen patties. So we'll put 1 pollen patty per colony. And then there's something here called fondant, which is a kind of sugar paste, which we'll put for them to eat as well. So they have plenty to eat as they get used to their new homes, as they get used to the new environment. It's rather cold right now. It's about 8 or 9 degrees Celsius. And it'll get, of course, colder overnight. And the plants, as I said, are not flowering yet. So it'll take a little while before the neighborhood can nourish them. So we'll take care of them in the meantime. And then eventually they will start to grow in population and feed themselves and create honey for all of us. Okay, so we're back at the hive. Now we're ready to install the bees. So as I mentioned earlier, the bees arrive in these tubes, aerated at both ends. There's a queen bee inside in a small cage and about 3,000 bees. And so each of these sets of bees are going to end up in one or the other boxes. So what I'm going to do first, I'm going to take out the staples. Try to take out the staples that are attaching the bees, or this cover.
Okay.
Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm getting ready to release the bees. I'm undoing these staples that have attached this lid to the tube. And this ribbon here, you can see the green ribbon, the queen bee's cage is attached to the ribbon. So that's what I'm going to extract first. I can already hear the bees, the noise. Okay, so I've taken the staples away. So we're ready to extract first the queen bee, who's in a cage on the end of this ribbon, and then eventually the rest of the bees. So I can hear the bees making a bit of noise or buzzing around. They know that something is up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to knock this tube on the ground a couple of times just to drop the bees down to the bottom before I take out the queen. They're going to go into this hive. Oh, we need to pour the stuff on the. Here, let's prepare the boxes first, or the frames. So I'd mentioned this concoction that we've purchased. If I can get at it. this is some food and medicine for the bees. Let me just give that a nice stir. Leave that one in there. And so these we're going to pour over these frames that we've bought. So let's do that. That's a very good idea. So then I will turn that one over. Put some on there. Let that soak in a bit. Okay, very nice, very nice. Now we'll put that one on the bottom, and we'll pour some on these two sides. There we go. And spread that around a bit, soak in nicely, and then we'll put the rest on this last side. I think they're really going to like that. Okay, there we go. So that's now nicely coated on the four sides where they're originally going to populate these two frames to get started. That's where they're going to find their food, and ideally the queen is going to start to lay her first babies. So let's put these back inside the hive. There we go. Okay, looking good. Okay, now as mentioned, I'm going to get the bees very gently, not so gently perhaps, down to the bottom of this tube so I can extract the queen because they're buzzing around up top. So I'm going to give it a couple of knocks. 1, 2. Okay. Take the top away. And I'm going to, there's a first bee coming out. Oh shoot, I dropped the ribbon inside. Oh no. Okay. So I think I'm going to have to dump the bees and then find the queen afterwards. Sorry about that, everyone. Okay, so let's do that. So here we go, and there's queen ribbon. Take that, give it a couple of shakes so I get my queen. I'm going to put this down here by the entrance so the others can come in. Give that a shake. And then there's my queen. She's looking really, really good. The rest of the bees are maybe not completely happy with me. So I'm going to put the queen down inside like so. So it's a good place to get started.
Can you move so that we can see?
Move. Can you see inside there? Look at all the bees. You get a good look. So they look fairly happy in there. Now I'm going to move. Oh, we need to do the cage. I've uncorked it, put a bit of candy in there. She's going to eat her way out of the cage and introduce herself in a couple of days to the rest of the bees in the hive. So we're just going to hang that over the side like so. I'm going to very carefully slide this frame across, get her close. There we go, all good. Bring this frame over, that one. Okay, a couple of frames over here we're going to add in just to complete the set. The bees are looking good. I think they're happy. Looks like they've traveled well. Probably don't like me very much, but such is life in the hive. Okay, everything is in. We'll leave that over the side. Now we're going to add something for them to eat, what we had mentioned earlier, the pollen patty. So let's put a really nice looking pollen patty just here on top. The pollen patty gives them lots of really nice protein. So they have that to eat, protein, so that they can develop and grow baby bees. And then beside that, we're going to add this fondant, which is a kind of sugar, which will give them carbohydrates. And they use the carbohydrates to build the beeswax on the frames. So we'll leave that one right there. It has enough access for them to get at it so they can help themselves. Then all we need to do now is close things up. So this is the top box. So I've sealed the entrance because we want to leave them sealed inside for a few days. So they won't be able to get out. They'll stay inside and get access to all that good food that's in there. It seems to be sitting a little bit high. You go. Trying to move slowly, not to agitate anybody too much. Put that on. And that should do it for that hive. So, we've completed one hive. The queen is inside. She's eventually going to eat her way out through the candy, join the rest of the crew. The bees are getting to know her in the meantime. Remember, they only met each other about a day or so ago, maybe 2 days ago in New Zealand. So they hadn't been introduced to each other, so they need to acclimatize or assimilate each other. And then they should be a wonderful and producing hive eventually. So now we're going to do the south hive. That's the north hive. So same thing. This is a mixture of food and a bit of medicine that will keep them healthy, and some essential oils as well. So we're going to pour that into the frames that already have some honeycomb on them. There's a little bit on one side. Bring the other one out. There we go. Okay, make sure that's nicely inside. There we go. Oh, that's looking really good. So we'll turn that over. And we'll pour some into the other side. Make sure they have access to all that good stuff. I'm sure over in the other hive right now they're having a feast on all of this after having been in that tube for a few days. They're probably really enjoying the change and the goodness, tastiness, sugary deliciousness of everything that they're getting now. So let's pour some of this into this frame. There we go. Keep just a little bit for the other side. It's looking good. Spread it around a bit. Give it a chance to soak right in. Looking good. Pretty sticky stuff. There's a lot of sugar syrup in that mixture, so it tends to stick pretty nicely. Turn it over, and then we'll do the last side. Going to eat all this, and that will get both nutrition and some really helpful medicines inside the bees. Okay, spread it around again. Lots on this one, looking good. You can hear it soaking right in to all that honeycomb, already laden with honey and fat. Put it on the side just for a second. Oh, there's a bit of burr comb on the bottom of that one. Maybe we can just take the opportunity to clean that off. Pretty old stuff by the look of it. I think that'll do. Okay, so we'll put these two really nice frames back inside the hive. We'll give a little bit of room between them. so we can get our bees in. Now, here's the other package. I'll be careful not to let the queen drop out too fast this time. So, oh, you want to go there, do you? Okay, there we go. So there's still some bees from the other hive buzzing around me, wondering where they live. And it's altogether possible that some of them will change teams and move from one group to the other. Absolutely fine. No issue at all with that. They will quickly sort themselves out and figure over the longer term who's going to live where. These bees will live for another probably 6 weeks or so. Bees tend to, except for the queen who lives for a few years, these bees will go through their life cycle over the course of about 6 or so weeks. And that's why it's so important that the colony is constantly producing new bees to replace those that are dying off. Not only replacing those that are dying off, of course, but increasing the size of the colony by expanding the total number of bees. I can hear them buzzing away in there. I'm trying to get that staple out of there. It's being a bit difficult. The queen bee is laying a lot. No, she's laying like many in a minute. She's super busy. Okay, I'm going to hold on this time. So what I'm going to do before I release the top, we're going to give it another couple of shakes to get the bees down to the bottom. 1, 2, you can feel them falling down. Take that away. Some bees will start to come out, of course. Okay, I'm going to pull out the queen.
Could we look inside there for a second?
Not for a second. Okay, there's the queen. Well, ribbon's pretty long. Okay, now shake some of those off the queen. And I want to close this up for the time being and just leave that very gently attached whilst holding onto the queen. So we'll set that aside for a moment. So there we go. We'll drop some of those down. And let's take a look at our queen. So what we want to do, as last time, is remove first the cork, if we can. Might be a bit easier. Let's see what our queen looks like. Oh, there she is. She's looking fine. She's looking fit. She's looking active. So let's take this. Oh yeah, this one's much easier to get out. Cork is out. Queen is inside. I'm going to take this bit of food, candy as they call it, and we're going to put it into the hole where the cork had been a few moments ago. I'll stuff that right down inside. So what she's going to do is eat her way through that, and in a few days release herself from this enclosure. In the meantime, the other bees will also be feeding her. Oh, there's a bee coming to say hello and visiting my glove. Aren't you nice? Okay, so let's put the queen inside the box. So she will be there and ready. And I'm wondering if I should try this one maybe a bit differently. This time I'm going to take the ribbon off. Oh no, I'm going to leave.
No,
She's
just leave
hanging
it on.
sideways. Not sure if that should be up. I'm going to try to take this one off. So let's do that. Pull these extra staples out. Okay, so this time I'm going to put her down here, and we can just attach her to the side of that frame, I think. No, maybe not. We'll put it right down at the bottom. Oops. neat. So time to put in the rest of the bees. We'll give them another shake. 1, 2. Take that off, and in they go. Actually, that worked out okay. Okay, I'll set the tube down here so some of them can get inside if they like. Okay, so we're going to move the frames a little bit closer together. So we're going to move this one across. A lot of bees in there. Move the frame feeder with them. Some of them are already taking advantage of the food that's in there. Put the frames back. There we go. There's nicely enough space between frames for the bees to move around. So, all the frames are in. It's probably a bit farther left than I would have liked. So I'm going to try to move these over a bit. Take one out. Move this across. Better get that a little bit more centered. Okay, there we go. So like with the other hive, I'm going to put a pollen patty on top. We'll come back eventually and add a bit of fondant sugar. So the pollen gives them protein and enzymes, and the sugar, which is in their frame feeder, is going to give them carbohydrates that they'll use to build the beehive. And with that, we now just would like them to get inside the frame, so we're going to the top. Back on carefully. So, the lid on. There's a lot of bees collecting on the front of the hive right now. They will eventually find their way in, so we leave the opening, leave it open for the time being. And later we can close that. And there they are. Welcome, girls, to your new home. So we'll give them a little bit of time, then I'm going to come back. We're going to install this thing that blocks the opening, so it makes a much smaller entrance than this very large entrance across the front right now. We'll use that to block it closed. The combination of the queen being inside and all that food inside, there's something obviously attracting them to the outside of the box there. They're a little bit unsettled, but we'll give them a few minutes just to settle down, get themselves installed. We'll let the rest of the bees that might still be inside the tube find their way out, and then we'll be good to go. So next time we'll be doing our first inspection in a few days and see how the queen is doing. Make sure she made it out of her cage and that the colony is starting to do well.